So gaming is about ready to get real fun, real fast. Earlier this week, we talked about the PlayStation Showcase leaking a little bit early. It does sound like there will be a PlayStation Showcase possibly next month in May. Very, very excited about that. But now we're also hearing about a leak for the Xbox Showcase as well. We now have a date for the Xbox Summer Showcase, as well as various games that they are set to show, including some major reveals for games that we really haven't seen up to this point. If you're an Xbox fan, it sounds like this is going to be a fun time. So we will get into all of that today, as well as a shakeup that unfortunately seems to have delayed a pretty anticipated game. I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment over this, but hopefully this will be for the better in the long run. Let's just go and get right into the video, though, starting off with Stellar Blade. There's been some, we'll just kind of call it strange discourse around this game, but the thing about Stellar Blade is that fans are really enjoying the demo right now. Stellar Blade so far seems like it's not just a looker, but it's also a really fun, well-designed game as well, and the combination of the two with its visuals and its gameplay, it seems to have grabbed the attention of a lot of fans. It's now been spotted that it's the #1 most pre-ordered game in various countries across the world, and that tells me that they're doing something right. Fans are excited enough to pre-order a brand new IP, and that is something worth considering here. You know, with how the industry works and how so many developers focuses on, sequels and remakes and this, that, and the other, this being a new IP, I think that really makes its #1 spot just that much more impressive. I guess, if anything, the discourse around Stellar Blade, it kind of reminds me of games like Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy VII with characters like Tifa, Nier Automata, or even Bayonetta. They all have attractive female characters, and certain people out there just have a problem when games do that. But all of those characters, they've gone on to be some of the most iconic female video game characters of all time because they're not just attractive, they're also just fantastic characters, and they're a part of absolutely amazing games. And hopefully, Stellar Blade will join that list as well. Now, we also got an update for Call of Duty Vanguard, and I think this really just kind of shows you the power of this series. I mean, if regulators crying for 2 years over its popularity wasn't already enough, well, it's now been spotted that Vanguard sold 30 million copies worldwide. Again, 30 million. That is pretty incredible, especially considering that, Vanguard is one of Call of Duty's least well-received games. It has a 73 overall score on Metacritic with a 3.7 user rating. Not exactly something to brag about there, but a lot of people just did not like this game. So to see us sell 30 million units despite that reception, I think is kind of telling here. Call of Duty really is a well-oiled machine, and that's ultimately why Activision refuses to go away from the yearly Call of Duty schedule. Yes, it's been at the detriment of some of their other franchises like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro the Dragon, because, they practically have all of their studios working on Call of Duty in some shape or form. But when you see numbers like this, again, 30 million units, from one of their lesser received entries, yeah, you kind of see Activision's logic. It's difficult for them as a business to say bye to that yearly money that is just almost guaranteed for them. Now, as for us fans, that doesn't mean that we have to agree with them. I've made it very clear in the past that I'd like to see them slow down and focus on quality more. But again, 30 million. If anything, Call of Duty really is a beast, and, this is pretty much why Xbox did everything they could to acquire Activision Blizzard. Now, speaking of Call of Duty, though, let's go and talk about the Xbox Summer Showcase. Now, we already know that this is going to happen. Xbox has already essentially confirmed that they do have some summer plans this year. But now today, thanks to The Verge, they leaked out some specific information as some of the things that we can expect to see there. We can go and take a look at what they said here. They said Microsoft is in the middle of planning for its big summer Xbox showcase. I understand that this is set to take place on Sunday, June 9th, and Microsoft is currently planning to announce a new Gears of War game at the show. A Gears announcement won't be the only new Xbox game at the show, which will also include release dates for upcoming Xbox games like Microsoft Simulator 2024, Avowed, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and of course, a new Call of Duty that's set to debut later this year. Now, there's also some rumors that State of Decay 3 will make an appearance as well, and that is something important to keep in mind here. The Verge leaked various games that they had heard about, but they didn't leak everything. They just leaked some of its announcements, but that's also kind of the thing. Even just knowing these titles, it already sounds incredibly exciting, and that all starts off with Gears of War 6. The Gears franchise has been a pillar for the Xbox brand since the 360 days, and as we talked about just yesterday, Gears 6 is expected to set the bar for Unreal Engine 5 games. This ultimately might end up being the best looking game this generation has yet to offer, and that belief only seems to be growing by the day. Nate the Hate was the latest leaker to tease Gears 6 information, and you can see here where he said, "This generation, very few games have delivered that next-gen moment this gen, as we had an exceptionally long cross-generation period. Much like Gears 1 was the moment on the Xbox 360, so should Gears 6 be for the Xbox Series." Now, from everything that's been described to us so far, Gears 6 will blow our minds based on how good it looks, which honestly really isn't all that hard to believe. The thing is that the Coalition has proven their expertise with Unreal Engine time and time again. If you go back to last generation, Gears 4, Gears 5, and Hivebusters all looked incredible on the Xbox One, and they've been at the forefront of Unreal Engine 5 development. They might actually be better at Unreal Engine 5 than Epic Games. They've already showcased various impressive Unreal Engine 5 tech demos, including the playable Matrix Awakening. That's probably still the best looking gameplay experience that we've seen on the Xbox Series X. Now, Hellblade 2 might soon change that, considering it is a full-size game, and visually it also looks pretty incredible so far. And like I said yesterday, despite some of the 30 FPS drama, I'm still super excited to play that game and see those visuals for myself. Who knows, I might even warm up to the idea of that 30 FPS gameplay when I play it myself. But from the sounds of it, Gears of War 6 will look even better than Hellblade 2, which is almost hard to imagine. So we really might see a mind-blowing reveal come June 9th. Go ahead and mark your calendars, and I really can't think of a more fitting game to do this. I still remember back on the Xbox 360 playing that first Gears of War, and I was just in awe as to how good that game looked, but not only looked, but also how it felt. There's still no other game out there that feels quite like Gears of War, and I just cannot wait to see what Gears 6 has to offer, both in terms of its visuals as well as its gameplay. Now, the other big announcement that The Verge leaked, though, was the new Call of Duty game. And I think this is really interesting in the aspect that this is the big Activision Xbox welcome. I've noticed a lot of frustration online over the slow Activision integration. Diablo 4 so far has really been the only Activision Blizzard Game Pass game, and fans are growing a little bit impatient on that front. But if they really do reveal the next Call of Duty on the Xbox stage, that's huge for their brand, especially if they have that Xbox Game Pass logo next to it. Now, we'll see what happens with all that, but PlayStation has had the marketing rights for Call of Duty for a long time now, and that's been a driving force for Sony's strategy to push the PS5 out the door to get more PlayStation Plus subscriptions. A lot of the Call of Duty fan base transitioned to PlayStation last generation, so here's an opportunity for the Xbox brand to get some of that back. The power of Call of Duty really cannot be understated, which again, Vanguard, 30 million units. I think that is very telling, but yeah, this is a big opportunity for Xbox. Now, the one other rumor, though, that we are hearing is that State of Decay 3 could possibly be there. We really don't know much about this game yet outside of a small teaser that they showcased years ago. It does kind of seem like they might lean into a more realistic art direction, or at least that's based on the trailer. Who knows, though, that could all just be smoke and mirrors. That doesn't necessarily mean that the game will have the same art direction. But, you know, that's why a gameplay update is very much needed by this point. It'd be nice to see what this game is and whether or not we should be excited. It's a very popular Xbox franchise, and it's been in development for quite some time. I think a lot of people will be very excited for the next big Xbox zombie game. Again, though, and I do want to emphasize this, there could still be other surprises at this showcase. This leak isn't indicative of everything that they have to show there. Now, if we do get any kind of news, of course, I'll let you all know as soon as possible. do hit that subscribe button. But in the meantime, let me hear what you're most excited about. And if there's one game that wasn't on this list that you would like to be there, let me hear which one you would like to see most. Maybe Perfect Dark, there's Fable, the rumored Banjo-Kazooie game. That's something that I really want to see. But let me hear your wish list in the comments below. Okay, now one last thing that I want to talk about before we go here is seemingly a delay that I think will be rather significant for a lot of people, and that's for Dragon Quest XII. Unfortunately, it is starting to sound like it might be a while before fans get to play that game. And that's because what's happening here is that reportedly, the Dragon Quest producer stepped down following several delays for Dragon Quest XII. So at the bare minimum, it does sound like Dragon Quest XII has faced some development problems, hence the delays. Now, this was all reported by Bloomberg, and they went on to say that the move is a part of a large-scale reorganization that took effect on Monday, the people said. Square Enix is overhauling its game development pipeline under new president Takashi Kiryu, who's 48 years old, who's vowed to reverse flagging sales of both big-budget console games and smaller mobile titles. He told investors in February that the new structure will help the company rely less on external resources and focus more on in-house AAA games. So the sweeping changes that they're making right now has affected Dragon Quest XII, but hopefully for the better. Dragon Quest is such an important franchise for Square Enix, especially over in Japan, and it's important for them to get the next mainline entry right. I know there's been some mixed responses over it being described as a darker, more mature entry than past Dragon Quest games. Not everybody likes that description, but hopefully with some new leadership here, hopefully it all turns out well. Apparently, they were considering Yosuke Saito to lead Dragon Quest XII, and he's worked on the Nier games, which, those are absolutely amazing. Some of my favorite games, really. So hopefully that bodes well for Dragon Quest XII. For the time being, though, don't worry too much about this news. I know delays always kind of freaks people out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Dragon Quest XII will, turn out to be some kind of bad game or anything like that. A lot of times that really just kind of means that they're putting quality first, and that's the way I kind of prefer to look at this situation. I do prefer to be optimistic, and, hopefully this just means that there will be a better game when it does eventually release. If anything, I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. Again, do let me hear your wish list for the Xbox Showcase, which apparently is coming on June 9th. But until next time, peace out.